Well, we're back today and we're going to check on the seeds that we've been taking care of this week. Here in my east window, which gets some light, but not the best light, the seeds have germinated. And germination is what you say when the seed begins to grow. I have 2 sprouts or seedlings in this cup. And I see a nice tall one, and a second smaller one in this cup as well. Good thing I have those saucers. There's plenty of water that's dripped through. Here in my south window, there's a few other kinds of plants growing. Like the cilantro here, that has just sprouted in the last day or two. It's very crowded with plants, and I will have to pull out a few of those as they get bigger to prevent overcrowding. This is sometimes called thinning out the plants. I've got a tomato plant growing here, and this is how their leaves look when they first sprout. And a nice sunflower, 2 of them sprouting in this pot here too. Finally, here in my west window, I have a couple of other potted plants to look at. This real tall one here is a bean plant. I planted a dry black bean from the grocery store, and I've gotten this tall plant already. Here we have a mix of green onions and basil, and I see some tomatoes that have sprouted up too. I think I had tomato seeds in my compost that was part of the potting mix, so those will end up coming out. But there's a cute little basil plant. You can see its rounded leaves. And finally, there's a pot of marigolds I'll bring over for us to see. Were planted by my son Judah, and they're all planted, and you can see they're all leaning a certain way. They're leaning towards the window. Well, that's because they're reaching for the light, and there's a name for that called phototropism. Photo meaning light and tropism meaning movement. Because of this phototropism, it's often advised that when you're growing plants near a window, you rotate them every few days or every week. And now you can see they're facing away from the window. But as the sun shines, they'll lean back towards, and in a day or two, they'll be straight up and then even leaning back towards the window. This yard has been allowed to grow with the idea of being a habitat for animals. Does it have the elements that animals need to be truly a habitat? Does it provide food? Does it provide shelter? Let's take a look and see. One element that provides shelter for a lot of insects and worms and things is just leaving the leaves on the ground. All throughout underneath the leaves, you'll find little invertebrates in the right season. I just saw a potato bug. And you'll see birds digging through the leaves. They're looking for those little animals to eat. Take a look at these seed heads. This is from a plant known as the Golden Alexander. Yellow flowers in another month or two. But right now, we have seeds. And these seeds can be food for birds and small mammals that might be living around here. I've also noticed the birds make use of these tall grasses. Yes, they have seeds on the end too, but a lot of times the birds will use them as nest material and bring these bits of grasses and weave them into a nest. Really quite ingenious. I wonder, could you make a nest out of different materials from outside? I dare you to try it out. We'll walk through a little bit more and see if there's some other habitat elements. There are logs and rocks that animals can shelter under. Let's see if anybody's living under here. Oh, look at that, centipedes. That's a pretty good find. I see a worm, part of a worm. The rest of it's underground hiding. Good habitat. More material for building nests and for sheltering under. These large clumps of grass provide good shelter for small animals to climb underneath in wet weather and shelter underneath. And also the seed heads of the purple coneflower. I see a little bird called called goldfinches land on these a lot. And they're trying to get at the seeds too for part of their diet. So can a yard be a habitat? It can. It sure can. The Bird Nest Challenge. I gathered some of the grasses and reeds and dead plant materials from that front yard, and I'm going to do my best to make a bird's nest out of them. And here's what I came up with. It's not as good as the birds could do. They're the real pros, but it's not too bad, I don't think, especially for a first-timer. Can you make a nest? If you found materials, could you do a better job? Try it out. So went out looking for habitat elements. And flowers provide nectar, which is great habitat for pollinators. These dandelions are some of the first flowers of spring. Baby animals are a good sign. If an animal can raise young, like this kitten I found in the school garden, then they have food and water and shelter. Here's that kitten with its sibling, and the mother cat is hiding them under some bags of leaves while they're young. Can you find tall grasses that could be used for making nest material? Are there other native natural materials around? Here's a nest, and every nest needs a safe place to be, such as the tree this one is located in. Okay, here's a fun animal that we found. If you find an animal, you know the habitat is pretty good. Do you see it yet? It's there in the grass. Look carefully. Okay, I've got one more picture for you if you don't see it yet. There it is, a nice garden snake, already starting to make the rounds in Cleveland this springtime. So get outside, get into nature, and make your own discoveries. Find those elements of habitat.